everyone, it's Leslie from Lola Bow and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be looking at how to create this wavy pattern coming down the front of a pendant. So if you're interested to see how I put this one together, then stick around and let's see what we can do. So we're going to make a pendant using this Green Opal today. Slightly different base design and top design for you to try out. Those of you who have joined me on my videos before notice I'm using a slightly different background, and I've actually moved my camera a little bit higher in the hope that the camera will focus and I won't keep bashing the wires on the camera, because I appreciate that's probably quite annoying. So I've cut my wires already, so I've got 4 lengths of square copper here, but what I'm actually going to do is start by wrapping just 2 wires, and I'm going to start in roughly the middle of this piece of half round, so I've got quite a long tail on either end. I'm probably going to start with doing maybe 10 wraps around just these 2. However many wraps you do, really, it's going to depend on the size of your stone. You just want a little bit up each side of the point, which will be at the bottom. So just turn that round. Yeah, so just a little bit of this is going to bend up the side of your point. Okay, so we've got the wrap in the middle and we've got 2 tails sticking up. We're then going to grab the other 2 wires and bring them in on top like so, and then using these tails we're going to come round all 4 and maybe do 4 or 5 wraps around each side. Again, just depends how far up your stone you want them to go. Let me just do the same on the other side. 3, 4 and 5, and we'll just give them a smush as we would usually do, and then trim off the excess. And then just give it all a good smush. So you can see now we've got this kind of free section here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab hold of these 2 wires at the front that have got no wrapping on them. We're going to bend them up to a point. It's a little bit fiddly because you don't want the back wires to bend with it. So what you can do is use your nylon jewel pliers, or whichever ones allow you to grip the best on there, and then oops, you can see it's a little bit fiddly. Nylon jewel is probably not the best, but we're just kind of creating like this V. Try not to throw everything all over the place. So we're creating this V shape, so we are in this odd shape. Then we're going to grab the wired ones, and we're actually going to bend that the opposite way. So we're trying to keep like a bit of an angle on these ones. Oopsie. And bend these ones up so they match there, and then we can keep working it up. So it is a little bit of a fiddle, but I promise you, end result is worth it. There we go. So we've got like this little sort of nick here. So when we put the stone in, that little nick is going to sit just in the front. Okay. So what we can do before we do too much more, we're just going to sit the pendant in. I'm actually just going to try and move these forwards a little bit so they don't push the stone too far back. And then we're just going to, as we would usually, shape. Still hit the camera with the wires, didn't I? Shape these wires up so they go around the stone. So because we've got this weird sort of shaping at the bottom, it's good to just sort of go in and just squeeze everything into place on the side of the stone, just to make sure that everything is sitting in the right place and flush as it can be against the stone. And then we're just going to kick in our back ledge like we do normally, and then bring our stone in and push it down into the frame, so it's going to sit in there. This is where you might want to adjust a little bit, squeeze things in a little bit, just shape the frame around the stone. And as always, trying to keep things in line with each other so it doesn't all go a bit squiffy towards the end. Whoops. Okay, so now we've got that shape set. This wire wants to come around the back a bit more. That's it. So we start to bring those wires in like so. So we can do final touch-ups and adjustments as we go in, but at the moment we just want to get the stone so it's sat in that frame. Okay. And then we can just tweak little bits as we go in. Paper was probably not my best call on the background because it's going to keep shifting. Okay, so get the shape of that frame. Okay, so off camera I've just tweaked this little bit so it's actually got 2 lines on it rather than just one. And then what I'm going to do is bring all of the wires together at the top and then draw them up to the back. Okay, so you've got your little kick in. The reason I've given it 2 lines at the base is I just think once it's oxidized, it's going to give it a little bit more depth down here. So if you look, we've got like these 2 little lines. I just think it's going to give it a little bit more depth as it's going to be oxidized, this one. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut myself some half round wire. And then I'm going to, as you would for all pendants, just bring together all of the wires to start creating the neck of the bail. So as I normally do, probably about 4 or 5 wraps here. And then I'm just going to secure that bottom tail to one of the base wires at the back. So I'm just going to swing that round, bring it under, then tease it through. And just do that maybe 3 or 4, probably 3 times. And then just pull that round. And tuck the end in. Make sure everything's nice and tidy. I'm just going to adjust that. Bring that in a little bit more. So it's just got a bit more to sit on. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the front 2 wires and draw them forward, and then 1. Sorry if you can hear my heater clicking, it's decided it's going to be quite noisy today. It's quite chilly in the workshop, so I thought I'd put some heating on. Alright, so pull the decorating wires out of the way, and then we'll just wind it up onto the bail, pushing the wire down as we go. So just going to keep this simple at the top. Get past all of these decorative wires, and then just wrap all the way up. So I have been looking at my camera to try and take off the autofocus, and even when I take off the autofocus, it still autofocuses. Hence why I'm trying with just a sheet of paper under the pendant today, just to see if it helps to not have any texture under what I'm doing. Just because when I watch it back, I find it frustrating as well that the whole thing just keeps going in and out of focus. Also, that I also know that if I'm above that bit of paper, I am in screenshots. So hopefully I won't be wandering off camera as much. So once we've got enough wire wrapped to create our bell, we'll just give everything a swoosh, tighten everything up, and then create the bell. We're just going to wrap that around, bring it back behind, and then just pulling those decorating wires up and out of the way. We're just going to pull this wire around everything just to secure the back bail wires. Like so. And then we're just going to attach everything together. I wasn't sure if I was going to even be able to do much wrapping this week, because we were doing DIY at the weekend, building a brick wall, and my hands are quite sore from doing it. Incredibly dry and quite sore. But we're getting there. Okay, so once we've created the bail, we're just going to pull the back wires around to the front, just to tie them off. So we'll just hook around, squeeze. Same on the other side. Hook around and squeeze. So what you've got is, so we've not secured the stone at the front any more than just this little tooth here. So you can see that it's just, well, it's just plain at the moment. Okay, so we've got our decorative wires all straight. Now you can twist these if you want to. I'm not going to today. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this front wire and we're going to give it a very light curve. The second wire is going to follow. So almost just sitting it on top, holding it in, bringing it to that same curve. And then the third, exactly the same. So all three follow that same curve. As it comes down on the curve of the stone, just press your thumb and draw it over. Okay, so we've now got this shape. We're then going to come in with these three wires. So taking the front one, you're going to bring it in quite low, and you want it to follow that same line. Same with this one. Follow, just squeezing them together so they sit nicely. And then the third one sits there. So you can see they all all six wires will follow that same line. Hold those there, bring your thumb back in, and then with these three that have come around from the top, we're just going to draw them around, and then they're going to swoop at an angle down. Okay, and then we're just going to trim off a couple little bits of excess that we've got, and then these three can be connected to your frame. So I'm going to lift that frame up a little bit and just curl these round underneath. One. Two. Round you go. Two, and then three. Like so. Just squeeze them in. So they're all now attached. These are all sitting here. Now with these ones, you can really do whatever you want with these ones. You can either go a little bit more out and around, or you could kind of bring them down and across. You could swoop them back over, which is what I'm going to do here. So you get like this repeat off camera. Blimey, who'd have thunk it? So you kind of have this repeat movement. And then what you could even do with these is, if you wanted to You could pull one into a curve, all into a curve. I think I'm going to go 2, just to be different. I'm just going to pull 2 into a curve, make it quite a tight one. It comes up like so, meets back up with the other one, and then it's going to hook up and over the shoulder. Cut off the excess. And then we're just going to connect these wires in to the back frame here. So we just pull them around, give them a quick smush in. There's one. And as you're pulling them around, obviously try and line them up with each other so it all sits nice on the front. Smush them in. And then the final wire, excuse my dog shouting at the neighbours. She's very disobedient. And then smush that one round. So then as you go back to the front, just double checking that everything is sitting where you want it. Everything's in line, everything's following round, everything looks good. And there you have it. A slightly different version of a design. So if you're going to give that one a try, then I'd love to know how you get on. I will try and get some pictures of this one up once it's oxidized so you can see how this little bit takes. I just think that it's going to show up a little bit more of that detail, but we'll see. Obviously, if you've got any comments or questions that you want to ask or anything, just drop them in the comments, any feedback. Your comments have really been making me smile recently, so thank you so much to everyone who has liked, subscribed and commented. And I'll see you all soon. Take care.